Swift Scholars, it's Professor Gallagher, and if you want to get your app in the App Store, Apple requires that it have a launch screen. We'll show you how to include a simple launch screen in your SwiftUI project, adding a custom background color and a custom image. Time to blast off with Big Learning.
If you're new here, welcome. You might want to check out the course playlist to see how we got here.
So right now, if we launch our app in the simulator, we'll see a very brief blank screen before the app begins to run. Now, Apple states that a better user interface design is to have a launch screen that indicates to the user that the app is launched, and in a few moments it should start running. In fact, Apple requires that a launch screen be included in any iOS app that's submitted to the App Store, so if it doesn't have a launch screen, the app will be rejected. Now, if you'd like to dive into best practices, there's a lot of info on launch screens in Apple's online documentation. In this lesson, we're going to add a very simple launch screen which meets App Store requirements. We'll add a custom color for the launch screen background, which isn't required, but which you might want to use, and a custom image, which will show during launch and counts as the launch screen. Nothing fancy, there's actually not even any programming involved in this, and it's fairly easy to set up, but it's not particularly straightforward since it uses Xcode's property lists. Let's build.
Now, in the prior lesson, we added an icon to our app, and you downloaded that icon and launch screen files from the You Are Awesome folder in the video lesson Google Drive at bit.ly/prof-g-swiftui-files. If you don't have those files, download and unzip them now, and when you do, make sure you're in the asset catalog of your project, then return to the Finder, and in the folder you downloaded, you should see another folder called Launch Screen Images. Open that up, highlight all three files, and when you start dragging, keep dragging, but also Command-Tab over to Xcode and drop them into your asset catalog. Now you'll see only one entry for launch screen that's created, but if you click on it, this has all three size versions in there.
There's a launch screen at 2x, and a launch screen at 3x. Well, that first image is 290 points wide, the second one is 580 points wide, or twice the size, and the last one is 870 points, or 3 times the size. And remember, we described how this works. iOS will automatically use the image which is most appropriate for the resolution on the device it's run on. If this app is running on a device with a Super Retina display, the 3x image will be used. It'll still display in a 290 by 290 square, but the image itself will be 3 times the image quality, which that device with the Super Retina display is capable of displaying. Now, the area in our Xcode project where we add the launch screen background color and the launch screen image is an area of your app known as the property list. Now, to access the property list or plist for SwiftUI apps, head to the project navigator, click the project icon at the very top.
Under targets in your center column, make sure your app is selected,
and then click the info tab. Again, not very friendly, but we do see that one of the items in this list is named launch screen. Now you can use the expansion triangle to see what's inside this option, and right now the only thing that we see is UI launch screen. Now that uses techniques from Apple's older technology UI kit, so we're going to skip over that and we're going to cover the most SwiftUI way to set up a basic launch screen. Now we're going to need to add some launch screen options. To do this, I'm going to click on the very small circled plus sign icon that I can find just to the right of where it says UI launch screen, and I get a drop-down menu showing options that I can include that relate to the launch screen.
So I'm going to select image name, and a new image name row pops up in here. And next to where it's faded out and says string, there is a blank cell. Double-click in that, and that's where we enter the image name of our launch screen. You might remember ours is simply called launch screen, all one word, all lowercase. I'll enter that and press return. And now I'm going to add another entry under launch screen so that I can add a background color behind our launch screen image. Now to do that, you can click on any of the rows indented below launch screen. I'm going to click on this little plus circle just to the right of image name. The drop down pops up again, and this time I'm going to select background color. Now in the cell to the far right, it says no, but if we double click in there, it empties out, and this is where we can enter the name of a custom color. So let's head back to our assets catalog and create a custom color. Down in the lower left of the center column, I'm going to click on the plus sign, and then I'm going to select color set. Then I'll open up the inspectors pane in the upper right. Make sure that you're in the attributes inspector. That's these 3 lines here that look like they're sliders. And while I have an any and dark mode option for my colors, I'm instead going to head down here to where it says appearance, pull down this menu and select none. That'll give me just one color option. Now make sure that your universal square is selected, and then head down here to where it says color panel. Click on that. The standard Mac System color panel shows up. You get a tab with a bunch of options across the top. The one that I like to use is the colored pencils on the far right. I think it looks like a crayon box. You can select any of the options in here. I'm going to select this orange one. If you click on it, you can see the word tangerine. That's the name of the color up there. And even more importantly, you see that we now have the tangerine color in our color box. Cool. So you can close the color panel, and let's double click on the word color up here next to our tangerine color. And why don't we give this a name? I'm going to give it the name in upper camel case, launch screen background color. And before I press return, I'm going to Command A to select it all, and then Command C to copy this so that I can paste it in later on and I don't have to worry about typing it again and getting a typo. Now press return. Our color's in our asset catalog. It's got our name, launch screen background color. So now let's head over to the project settings and You Are Awesome. Remember, that's the very top setting in the project navigator. It looks like the exposure triangle to the left of launch screen is pointing to the right. Yours might be pointing down. Mine isn't, so I'm going to click there. It points down, and now I can see all the options that I entered under the launch screen, including my background color. Double click on that empty cell to the right of background color, and Command V to paste in launch screen background color, press return. This looks great. Let's head up here to the play button so that we can launch the simulator and take a look at our background color and launch screen. As always, make sure you've got a device selected in your scheme. I do. Hammer time, no errors. And look at that, we see our launch screen with our tangerine background. Nice. Now, if you want, you can click on the home button in the simulator to get to the home screen. But if I click the icon to launch You Are Awesome, I don't see the launch screen again, and that's because my app is already running in the background. I'm going to click the home button again. Now here's another tip. If you ever want to delete the app on your simulator, you can simply long press, so hold down your mouse button or trackpad on the icon. A menu will pop up allowing you to remove the app, so select that, then select the delete app option. One more confirmation saying you're going to delete the data too, but our app doesn't have any data, so click delete. The app is deleted, but it's only deleted from this version of the simulator. Now I'm going to head back to the properties list, and I want to actually get rid of the background color. I don't like that tangerine color. You can keep it in there if you want to, but I'm going to click on the background color row and press delete. That row goes away. Then I'll click on play to launch again, and this sometimes happens. I didn't see my launch screen. Maybe it showed up, but I don't think it did. Usually on subsequent app loads, the launch screen doesn't linger as long as it does the first time your app launches, but this didn't show the launch screen at all. I think that's just an Xcode simulator bug. But what I'm going to do is if I double tap the home button, double tapping the home button brings up the app switcher. Now if I swipe up on You Are Awesome, I force quit that app. It's not running anymore. Now watch what happens, and it's going to happen really quickly, but if I click on the You Are Awesome button to launch the app, there it is. I see our launch screen. It had a white background color. You can double tap home, swipe up again, launch your app again, and that time it happened even faster. But Swifter, you definitely have a launch screen. You definitely know how to add a launch screen background color. More skills acquired. More on the way. Keep coming back and continue to hack.